class, what's going on? Hey, just wanted to take a few minutes to break down some of the stuff that's going on with GM. In front of us we've got a Cadillac Escalade here, rolling on some 24s, courtesy of Dub, right? But I just wanted to break down the ADS functions on this Cadillac, and this is pretty standard for most of General Motors products, but the active safety system on most GM vehicles uses a combination of sensors and inputs, and basically those sensors and inputs give feedback to the control modules, and the control module actually splices all of this data and meshes all of this data together to prevent or deter drivers from driving into or backing into things. These sensor inputs are also used in other ADAS functions. For this Cadillac here, if it has like active safety control, the RPO code is a UNG. So again, the RPO code is specific to General Motors. It stands for regular production option, and it's generally a badge that's either in the spare tire compartment or in the glove box, and it basically lists every option from color of trim interior to what size engine, you name it, it's on that RPO code. So anyway, so the active safety control module communicates on the object detection serial bus network. Some of the other sensors that communicate on that network are the front view camera, the short and long range radar sensors, and both front and rear. So the short range radar can be found underneath the front and rear bumpers, just under the fascia. Again, the plastic won't deter or skew the radar sensing capabilities, and so they just put it underneath the fascia of the front and rear bumpers. But the short range radar, it's about 30 meters or about 100 feet as far as the distance capability. Long range radar, like I mentioned in the other video, is right behind the badge on the front grille, and it's about 200 meters or 656 feet. And the camera range is about 60 meters or about 200 feet. So those are some of the ranges and some of the capabilities of the radar and the camera sensors. So the active safety control module also monitors live visual images and adds all of those splices together. So it's splicing radar, and it's splicing all of your camera, your video feed together, and it kind of massages it and gives the modules kind of a virtual view. So you have your radar that's overlaid with your camera, and if an object is 200 meters away, the system starts to monitor that object or those objects, and once that object reaches that 60-meter threshold where the camera is then at an operating range, the camera will validate what the radar has picked up, and then will present like that full image to the other control modules, and sometimes even to the display in the instrument cluster and things like that. So if a collision is going to happen, a warning will alert the driver. The EBCM, or the electronic brake control module, will kind of preload the hydraulic system or kind of pump it up, and if it gets to the point where there's no input given from the driver for whatever reason, it will automatically apply the brakes. So again, that's kind of their collision mitigation, panic stop. There's so many different names, so many different manufacturers use, but basically it's collision mitigation or collision avoidance to minimize the amount of damage done in a collision. So that's kind of the safety braking, emergency braking in a nutshell. And you'll notice that these systems, whether it be adaptive cruise control or lane keep assist or collision mitigation, collision avoidance, they all utilize the short and long range radar, cameras, ultrasonic sensors. So all of these systems are intertwined together. With General Motors adaptive cruise control, functions just like the regular cruise control, only it's enhanced, obviously, for the adapting or maintaining following distance. So, and you guessed it, I'm sure you know already, but the same modules that run the collision mitigation, active safety control module, and all of those other things are also incorporated into adaptive cruise control. So another notable players on this team, the active safety control module, ASCM, the same input sensors along with the ABS, traction control, stability control, transmission control module, body control module, engine control module. All of these are in communication or need to communicate in order for adaptive cruise control to operate properly. Another neat thing about the ADS functions on this is lane keep assist. This is not new. This has been around for several years. If you look it up in service information, there's like a big bulletin that says, warning, this is not for autopilot steer or whatever. So basically this application is merely for correction and not constant steering. So I just thought that was comical. But obviously most of the same modules are at play, and the different bus systems will be incorporated. Some of it's transmitted on high-speed CAN, powertrain CAN. Sometimes it's more of a communication bus, or I mean, not a communication, but just lost my train of thought. Anyway, several different bus systems. Some of these operate on the expansion bus, so it's not necessarily all on high-speed CAN, but some sub-bus systems and some other functions. But basically, lane keep assist utilizes most of the same. There's also the seat module. Okay, the memory seat module also controls the vibration of the seat to alert the driver if you're veering from one side to the other. So if you're veering to the left side of the seat will vibrate, and the steering will actually get hard to kind of prevent unwanted or unnecessary lane change without a signal. That's kind of like the first phase of lane keep assist, and that second phase is also mild correction to kind of keep it in lane. But again, it's not, this application is merely for correction and not for constant steering. So another input device for this one is the yaw rate, or the lateral acceleration sensor, the electronic power steering control module, and the electronic power steering also it utilizes the torque angle sensor, and inside the steering rack itself. The cluster also plays a big role, and the radio. Obviously, the radio will blurt out those warnings in a collision avoidance or collision mitigation type system or event. Sometimes the cluster will alert the driver of veering into the other lane. It just depends on the manufacturer, but as far as General Motors goes, there's just basically two phases for lane keep assist. First, the alert or the warning to the driver, and then the correction. So again, hopefully this is helpful to you. Kind of neat things. A little bit different than some of the other manufacturers, but hopefully still very beneficial to you. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a text or send me an email.